Hello everyone, my name is Anushka Poon and I am going to present the topic on the theory of income and employment. There are basically two theories, classical and Keynesian theory. Under the classical theory, the wage rate is determined by the marginal productivity of labor, and as many people are employed as are willing to work at that rate. And Kinsey raises to objection against this theory assumption that wage bargains determine the real wage, and another is labor stipulates for a money wage rather than a real wage. Kinsey's theory of income and employment. Kinsey, a British economist, propounded his own theory and in 1936 bought out his famous book General Theory of Income and Interest and Money. This led to the emergence of macroeconomics as a separate branch of economics. Kinsey's concept level of employment is directly related to the level of production or output. In a market economy, planned spending on business output will determine the level of production. Since employment depend on reproduction and production responds to spending, the level of employment in a market economy depends on the level of planned spending in the economy. Fundamental assumptions are the potential output of an economy is nothing other than its full employment output, and another is business firm will produce as much output as is necessary to satisfy the existing level of demand at current prices. Principle of effective demand is Kinsey's theory of income and employment is based on the principle of effective demand. So the aggregate supply is the total amount of goods and services that firms are willing to sell at a given price in an economy, and the aggregate demand is the total amount of goods and services that will be purchased at all possible price levels. So it should not be difficult to see that individual firm employment will depend on the entrepreneur's ideas, and the main factor determine the level of employment are aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Aggregate supply, if they expect to receive more than their aggregate supply price, they will wish to employ more men and employment will then be increased. And aggregate demand at any level of employment is the amount of money which all the entrepreneurs in the economy taken together really do expect that they will receive if they sell the output produced by this given number of labor. Aggregate demand curve and aggregate supply curve. We can see that here, and in this, along the x-axis are measured the number of men employed, and along the y-axis are shown the various amount of receipts together received by all the entrepreneurs in the economy from the sale of output. Entrepreneurs would be in such circumstances if aggregate demand is higher than aggregate supply. They have to employ more men till one man is are employed and aggregate supply equals to aggregate demand. Equilibrium at less than full employment. Earlier economists wrongly assumed that the aggregate demand can always be equal to aggregate supply price corresponding to full employment. With the help of Keynes' theory, it has been shown that the classical economist was wrong, and the economy could be in equilibrium and yet suffer from substantial volume of unemployment. Effective demand, national income equals to value of national output equals to expenditure on consumption goods plus expenditure on investment goods. There are some summary about Keynesian theory. In an economy in the short run, its total income depends on the volume of employment. Total employment depends on total effective demand, and in equilibrium, aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. Aggregate supply depends on physical and technical condition of production, and in the short run, these do not often change. Effective demand is made up of consumption demand and investment demand. Consumption demand depends on propensity to consume. Investment demand depends on the marginal efficiency of capital and rate of interest. The marginal efficiency of capital depends on the business expectations of profit yields, the replacement cost of capital assets. The rate of interest depends on the quantity of money and the state of liquidity preference. And in the short run, the rate of interest is relatively stable. Thank you.